Hi, welcome to Be Joyful 24/7. Today's video is going to be another one of my garden to table segment videos. Um, Ignore me dressed up like this because I was filming for an Instagram reel for something else. This recipe is going to be a vegetable cutlet. A cutlet is nothing but like a patty. It's just a vegetable patty, but it's very moist inside and a little bit crunchy outside. And you can have any sort of like dipping sauce like ketchup or any dipping sauce of your choice. And it's more of a snack rather than like a dinner or a lunch recipe. So this recipe of course involves vegetables. Now with regards to vegetables, you can choose any vegetables of your choice like carrots and peas and beans. But the only thing I would say is they do include potatoes, because potatoes are really good, sort of like a binding ingredient for all the other vegetables. Now for the purpose of this video, of course, I'm going to be using my homegrown vegetables. But like I say, keep the potatoes as like your base vegetable, but then add any vegetables of your choice. There is no limitations. So let's just jump straight into the recipe. I've harvested some beans here for this recipe. I'm just going to use beans. I've taken one medium-sized broccoli. I've also harvested a few potatoes already here, and I washed them and kept them ready. So I'm going to clean all the vegetables and add a pinch of salt and boil those vegetables and cook them completely. So you can see my potatoes here. Once they're all cooked, put it through a colander and make sure the water is completely drained. So we need breadcrumbs for this recipe, and I'm using fresh slices of bread. You can use shop bought as well. So I'm using 2 slices of bread. I've just put it through a food processor and I've made my breadcrumbs like this. So you can see what we need for this recipe. We need the breadcrumbs, all my boiled vegetables, and 1 sort of like large onions chopped. So these are the base things for this recipe. So I've heated 1 tablespoon of oil in a pan and adding my chopped onions. We're going to make sure the onions turn translucent. I'm adding just 1 teaspoon, just not a lot, just 1 teaspoon of ginger garlic paste. If you don't have ginger garlic paste, you can just use minced ginger and garlic or crushed ginger and garlic. It doesn't have to be a paste. This is just to give a little bit of flavor. Once the raw smell goes, we are going to add 1 teaspoon of chili powder to this. Make sure the flame is really low because we don't want to burn any of those spices. Just fry for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of Garam masala powder, just so the spices turn aromatic. I've also added about half a teaspoon of cumin powder here. I'm going to mix everything well and just fry for a couple of minutes on low flame. At this point, I'm also going to add salt. Now I'm adding 2 teaspoons of salt. It might seem a lot, but this is for all the vegetables that we're going to use in the recipe as well. So everything's now turned aromatic. It's really cooked well. Just make sure it doesn't burn. So keep the flame really low at this point. I'm going to get a big mixing bowl, and I need a masher to do this job. I like to start with the harder vegetables. So I'm going to start with my beans first. And I'm just going to mash it really well. We don't want it into a fine paste. It does need to be a little bit coarse in structure. So like this. So it just needs to be mashed to an extent. I've added my broccoli florets as well here. I'm going to mash it again. To this I'm going to add my boiled potatoes. I always like to add the potatoes at the end because that sort of is like the binding ingredient really. So you can see now how it just brings everything together. So you can see the mixture, it's not really fine, it just needs to be into a nice coarse paste. To this I've also added the onion mixture that we've just already cooked. You can see it's very dry, we've not added any water to that. I'm going to combine everything well, and it needs to look something like this. So this is the dough we need. To this mixture, we do need to add some breadcrumbs as well before we make it into a dough ball. So you can see here I'm adding 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. So in a bowl, I'm going to make my slurry mixture. For this, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of plain flour, 1 tablespoon of corn flour. So this is for the breadcrumbs to coat on the patties. So it needs to be like a watery mixture. So it's a batter, but it's very watery in consistency. I can't tell you exactly how much water, just eyeball it. As long as it's like a thin watery mixture, you should be fine. So it needs to look something like this. So I've added some oil because I'm going to deep fry the vegetable cutlet. But of course, if you want a healthier option, I would suggest that you use an air fryer or maybe bake it in an oven. It should be fine. I'm just checking the temperature of the oil. I'm going to make my patties like this. So made like a ball and then flatten them. And then I'm going to dip it in my slurry mixture. Put it through my breadcrumbs here to coat everything well. And I'm going to add it to the hot oil mixture. Make sure the oil is nice and hot before you do this. We're going to now cook this on both sides until it turns golden brown. It will take about 5 minutes on either side, I would say. So it needs to look something like this. Now this is how it looks. I'm eating mine with ketchup. It's so crispy and crunchy on the outside because of the breadcrumbs, but it's still so moist with all the vegetables inside. It's a really great snack recipe, perfect for the evenings. And I hope you really enjoyed this recipe video, and I'll be coming back to you with another one of my videos in the garden to table segment. I'll see you later. Bye.